Today, the United States operates more than 800 military bases in over 70 countries across the planet. No other country comes close. In fact, all other countries combined operate fewer than 100 foreign military bases total. So why does the US need so many? To answer that, we have to go back to the end of the Second World War, when the US decided that the best way to prevent another global war was to maintain a constant military presence. Before 1945, the United States had very few military bases outside its borders. Like most countries, its forces were mostly stationed at home, and it rarely projected power overseas unless absolutely necessary. But after World War II, everything changed. The war had devastated Europe and Asia. The British Empire was collapsing, France had been occupied, Germany and Japan were in ruins. The Soviet Union was emerging as a powerful rival, and the US, largely untouched by the destruction, found itself in a completely new position, the undisputed global superpower. The US adopted a new foreign policy strategy, forward deployment. That meant keeping military forces permanently stationed overseas, close to potential conflict zones, instead of waiting to be attacked. And so began the construction of a massive network of military installations across the globe. As of 2024, the United States maintains roughly 800 military bases abroad, 173,000 active duty personnel stationed overseas, and bases in over 70 countries, including Germany with 40,000 troops, Japan with 50,000, South Korea with 28,000, and dozens of other smaller facilities in countries like Italy. By contrast, countries like Russia and China operate just a handful of bases outside their own borders. How the network was built, war by war. The Korean War. The U.S. committed troops to defend South Korea and build permanent bases that remain to this day. Camp Humphreys is now the largest U.S. overseas base in the world. The Cold War. To contain Soviet influence, the U.S. built or expanded bases across NATO countries, the Middle East, and Southeast Asia. Many were built to house nuclear weapons, aircraft, or missile defense systems. Gulf War and the War on Terror. After Iraq's invasion of Kuwait, U.S. forces poured into the Persian Gulf. Post 9/11, bases expanded rapidly across Iraq, Afghanistan, Qatar. Some of those were temporary, but many remained even after the wars ended. So why do these bases still exist? Well, one, it gives you strategic access. Bases give the U.S. the ability to project force quickly anywhere in the world. Fighter jets, naval fleets, and special operations forces can respond to crisis within hours, not days or weeks. Deterrence. A U.S. base in a region signals military commitment. Troops in South Korea help deter North Korean aggression. Troops in Poland and Romania send a message to Russia. Many bases are part of defense agreements. For example, NATO guarantees collective defense, and U.S. bases help reassure allies. Bases also serve as soft power, symbolizing economic and political partnerships. Logistics and surveillance. Some bases are primarily for resupply, intelligence gathering, communications, or drone operations. Locations like Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean or Ramstein Air Base in Germany function as regional command hubs. So what are some benefits of the base network? Speed and reach. The U.S. can deploy forces almost anywhere within hours. The global stability. Presence can discourage wars or destabilizing actions. Economic partnerships. Bases often mean U.S. funding and contracts for host countries, and bases host joint drills and interoperability training with allies. Some criticisms and costs. Expense. Overseas bases cost tens of billions of dollars annually. Local opposition. Many bases, especially in Japan, Germany, and the Middle East, face protests over noise, environmental damage, or political tension. Some locals feel the bases are an imposition or a symbol of imperialism. And mission creep. The presence of troops can increase the chances of U.S. involvement in foreign conflicts. So where are the bases located? Most U.S. bases are concentrated in Europe, the Asia Pacific, and the Middle East, but there are noticeable gaps in Latin America and large swaths of sub-Saharan Africa. Some bases are permanent, while others are lily pads, smaller installations used for temporary missions, surveillance, or drone operations. So what would happen if they all closed? Reduce response capability. The U.S. would lose the ability to act rapidly. Conflicts in Asia, Europe, or the Middle East could escalate before the U.S. could respond. It could leave a power vacuum. Other countries, particularly China and Russia, might expand their influence in areas where the U.S. used to dominate. Allied anxiety. Countries like Japan, South Korea, and Poland may feel abandoned and start building their own independent defense systems, potentially including nuclear weapons. Savings at home. The U.S. could redirect billions in military spending to domestic needs, but at the cost of strategic deterrence. So will the network shrink? There is growing pressure to scale back the base empire. Some believe the U.S. is overextended and that the costs outweigh the benefits, but others argue the network is necessary, not just for American interests, but to maintain the current world order. Most Americans will never see one of these bases. Most people around the world may not even know they exist. The network of U.S. military outposts around the globe is one of the most important factors in how the world works today. Thanks for watching.